We're really proud of the way that our teams responded quickly and thoroughly.
An avalanche comes barreling down at Snowbird. How search and rescue crews worked to make sure no one was trapped under the debris.
And I just assumed it was slough off of our house because that's been happening. 5 structures collapsing just in 3 days. Why? Because of heavy snow on the roof. What Park City Fire says you can do to help prevent that from happening to your home.
It was a sunny day here across the state, but what can we expect as we head into Easter weekend? More on that coming up.
Bus routes and the struggle to keep them all going. Tonight, what UTA is changing and how it will impact riders. It's the national anthem like you've never heard before. The woman who sang for jazz fans tonight and the significance behind her language.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
An avalanche sweeping through Snowbird Ski Resort today while people were still on the mountain. After a nearly 3-hour search and rescue crews determined no one was trapped in the debris. Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Robin O'Guigne. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold spoke with people who were at the resort at the time, as well as officials with Snowbird about the search efforts following the slide.
I heard it slightly and I looked to my left and I kind of saw it all coming to a stop.
This was the site outside Snowbird Ski Resort Thursday afternoon, after a naturally occurring avalanche was triggered and slid down near the Chickadee Trail. That part of the mountain is the beginner terrain, where the kids learn to ski and ride. Mike Lanahan was outside at Snowbird at the time and says he heard a muffled rumble.
That thing just happened right here. And it was about 2 or 3 minutes later that people started running around and telling everyone to go to stop. I couldn't tell how far it came down. I could see that it came down as far as the road.
Officials with Snowbird say their teams responded immediately.
Our mountain operations teams, Ski Patrol, Mountain Ops are responding to the site. So we had employees out there doing a probe line.
Sarah Sherman, the communications manager with Snowbird, says they had their avalanche dogs on site, as well as using search and rescue technology to see if anyone was caught in the debris.
This incident took place at about 12:30 p.m. and we got the final clearance to share that they were confident nobody had been caught in there at 3:24. We're really proud of the way that our teams responded quickly and thoroughly.
The avalanche, Sherman says, also caused them to put their guests into Inner Lodge, where people were not allowed to leave the buildings they were in.
We estimate about 1,500 people. That's including guests as well as all of our employees.
We've been here since Saturday. We were supposed to leave yesterday, but obviously the road's closed.
This comes after Inner Lodge orders were briefly lifted and travel between Snowbird and Alta was allowed for a short time Thursday morning.
We'll see how long this thing's going to last. I would imagine this thing's going to last a while.
I did speak with UDOT tonight, and they tell me SR 210 here in Little Cottonwood Canyon will be closed again tonight. They say it will temporarily reopen from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Friday for all downhill travel and for any critical personnel and commercial food trucks that are looking to get up to the resorts. For now, here in Little Cottonwood Canyon, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Meanwhile, a photojournalist with ABC4 is in the hospital tonight after he was hit by a pickup truck while covering the closure at Little Cottonwood Canyon. Sandy police say the photographer repositioned to get a different shot and was struck by a truck making a turn. Officers were there in seconds and he was taken to a local hospital in critical condition with head trauma. Our thoughts are with the team at ABC4 during this difficult time. With this historic snow season slowly tapering off, a storm of challenges is still coming our way, including structures collapsing. Fox 13 News reporter Mythili Gooby was at the scene of a roof collapsing in Park City earlier today. She has the details.
Crews responding to their 5th structure collapse just in the past week in Park City.
All would appear to be a result of the snow load.
Kelsey Brown lives next door to one of the homes where the roof collapsed in Jeremy Ranch.
I was inside on a work phone call and I just assumed it was slough off of our house because that's been happening the last few days. So I didn't think anything of it until we looked out the window and saw the fire trucks and realized that this was something bigger than just a little slide off the roof.
Thankfully, no one was hurt when the roofs of homes or garages caved in.
It makes you look at your neighbor's roofs and your own roof a little bit differently, realizing that it can happen to anybody.
People who live nearby and crews say it didn't look like the owner of this home had been back since winter started.
With second homes, they're typically less likely to have the proper maintenance and snow removal. So yesterday's as well as this one had no snow removed from the roof over the course of the winter.
Park City Fire says to get all that snow so your structure doesn't collapse. Now take a look at this. They say 12 inches of dry snow. That's about 12 inches, weighs 5 to 6 pounds per square foot. But when it comes to wet snow, just 3 inches. 3 inches weighs the same amount, as about 5 to 6 pounds per square foot. Wet snow being 4 times as heavy as dry snow. So to get it all off your roof so it doesn't collapse.
Old-fashioned shovels, it really is. So whether homeowners want to take that upon themselves to climb up and shovel, some other options would be hiring contractors.
And there are signs you can look out for in your homes and structures so they don't collapse.
Cracks in walls, bowing in ceilings. If there is snow on the roof, you're less likely to notice a sagging roof from the outside, and sheetrock will hide that from the inside.
In Park City, I am Maithili Gulbi, Fox 13 News, Utah.
All right, it's time to check in with Utah's weather authority, Miss Allison Krogan. Allison, as you can see there, we're dealing with some of the aftermath of all that snow we saw, but I hear that the temperatures are going up.
Yes, and we had a lot of sunshine today, so Mother Nature helping us do some of the snow melting. Right now, a live look from the Salt Lake Tribune camera. Beautiful view downtown Salt Lake City. It's 41, 37 in Ogden, 40 currently in Provo. Looking across the state, we do have mostly clear sky and cool temperatures for your forecast this evening. We're in the 30s through the rest of tonight, and then when you wake up tomorrow morning, it's going to be about 25 to 30 for much of the state. Looking at 10 o'clock tonight, upper 30s for Provo, mid 30s for Ogden, 25 for Logan, but come 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, more clouds are streaming in throughout the day tomorrow. Those will be arriving first thing tomorrow morning. It'll be about 20 to 30 for the Wasatch Front tomorrow morning. Into the teens for Bryce Canyon, teens for the Cache Valley, single digits for Evanston, low 20s for Vernal and Price, and for St. George tomorrow morning, close to 40 degrees. But for Salt Lake City, our overnight low, 29 degrees, clear sky. And our main weather headline heading into Easter weekend, temperatures are on the rise. And for southern Utah, you're actually getting pretty hot over the next couple of days. We'll talk more about that coming up.
Allison, thank you. A prominent leader of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is taking a leave of absence from his duties due to some serious medical issues. Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles was excused from this past weekend's General Conference because he and his wife were sick with COVID. Today, the LDS Church announced that Elder Holland also recently began dialysis for a kidney condition. Because of that, Elder Holland has been excused from all church assignments and meetings for at least 2 months. Elder Holland, who is 82 years old, will also no longer be the keynote speaker at Southern Utah University's commencement ceremony later this month. At tonight's Utah Jazz game, fans heard a different version of the national anthem. Listen to this. Beautiful. A Navajo musician who goes by the stage name Honey performed the song in the Navajo language.
As Indigenous people, it's very important to have our presence here in our community, and for myself to be able to sing the national anthem and represent not only myself, my family, my people, my tribe, and my community. I'm able to bring forth the love, the peace, the healing that's needed within our people.
Honey says the Utah Jazz reached out to her about performing, but until today, she didn't realize how big the audience would be. That would be 18,000 fans. She sang while wearing traditional Native regalia, as well as beaded moccasins she made herself. UTA is making some big changes. Coming up, the impact on riders and when you can expect to see it happen.
After a year and 10 months, the family of a woman missing from the Navajo Nation is seeing some justice, but their biggest question is still unanswered.
You can tell riders from the East Coast because when they ride out west, they ride like this.
A NASCAR legend is coming to Utah, and it's for a great cause. We'll show you. Utah Transit Authority continues to struggle with hiring enough staff to keep all of its routes going. But UTA says it's making some big changes come the end of the summer. From new routes to scheduling changes, Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree tells us what's on the table for transportation.
In a meeting Thursday night, UTA acknowledged they've been having trouble running routes.
We are missing multiple trips every day at this point. In fact, the bus trip that I will be taking home from the office after this public hearing is canceled for tonight. So I'll be waiting for the next one.
Eric Callison says this all stems from staff shortages, but should improve soon. UTA just approved a new union contract with raises for bus and rail operators and mechanics.
As soon as we have a little bit more workforce, we feel confident that we can make some adjustments to our scheduling practices.
Changes coming on August 20th include the tracks running every 15 minutes instead of every 30 on Saturdays, front runner schedule adjustments, so it will start being more on time, plus the start of a bus rapid transit in Ogden called OGX. Multiple attendees brought up the ski bus issues.
I'm pretty sure everybody also knows we did run a reduced level of ski service during this ski season.
Callison says ski bus adjustments can't happen until December, but Utahns should continue submitting comments to UTA for any and all things transit.
The more we hear from people that they need more stuff, the more we can go to entities like the state legislature and the federal government and say, we need money for these projects that we have strong feedback from the community.
April 21st is the deadline to make comments on August Change Day. In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The last name Petty is pretty much synonymous with auto sports. Kyle Petty, the son of Hall of Famer Richard Petty, is making a trip to Utah soon for a very important cause. Fox 13 sports anchor Morgan Vance spoke with him about that, as well as the quick rise of NASCAR.
It's a sport moving fast in more ways than one.
To see NASCAR in the LA Coliseum, to see NASCAR in the streets of Chicago, to see NASCAR in Las Vegas. That's something I'm not sure I would have ever dreamed of.
Kyle Petty was raised with the world of NASCAR in his veins. What was it like to have a name that's so entrenched in the sport?
Dale Jr. and I have talked about this a million times. We had all the advantages and most of the disadvantages that you don't associate with it. The expectations, the pressure, the shadow is a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Petty and Earnhardt, unfortunately, share more in common than just that. Both drivers losing family members at the wheel.
After the accident and turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
While a year earlier, in 2000, Kyle lost his own son, Adam, during a practice run in New Hampshire.
You sit in a metal vehicle and run speeds upwards of 200 miles an hour. It's not for the faint of heart. Even though the sport is safe, the possibility is always there.
But while a new generation of drivers make the weekly competitive rounds across America on the NASCAR circuit, the long-retired Petty is doing his own kind of ride, one right here in Utah.
This year we're starting in Salt Lake City, going to Ely, Nevada, then to Tonopah, to Las Vegas, over to Cedar City, then up to Moab, and then back to Salt Lake City.
It's called the Kyle Petty Charity Race Across America, all to support Victory Junction, an organization providing life-changing camping experiences to kids with chronic medical conditions.
I tell people all the time, you can tell riders from the East Coast because when they ride out west, they ride like this. You know, Utah has just been a gorgeous state and a place that we've wanted to go 10 million times.
You can join the Petty Party all along the circular loop, or feel free to follow on social. Kyle's charity ride is on every platform out there.
Quickly you realize that they are dealing with something a lot bigger than, man, I couldn't find a parking place this morning. I'm mad all day because I couldn't find a parking place. And I think it puts life in perspective.
It starts on April 29th and goes through May 5th. Morgan Vance, Fox 13 News, Utah.
They've made winter feel never-ending, but the recent storms mean more good news for Utah's drought situation. The new drought map released today shows the amount of the state in severe drought dropped to about 9% from 19.5% a week ago. For moderate drought, that dropped from 45% to 31%. And here are some more stats from the April Water Supply Outlook report released today. Statewide snow water equivalent was 200% of normal on April 1st. On April 1st of last year, it was 75% of normal. All of Utah's major watersheds are above 130% of normal precipitation. Officials say small to medium-sized reservoirs will likely fill, but there's still more work to be done to help the Great Salt Lake and Lake Powell. You know, Allison, I was just thinking Kyle Petty and his team are coming at a pretty good time. They missed everything that we had to deal with earlier this week.
Yes, so we're going to have some really fantastic weather here across the state heading into the next couple of days. Perfect flying weather in Provo tonight. We just got this picture in from Jason. I'll step out of the way so you can see it in Utah County tonight. So thank you for sharing this. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, Utah's Weather Authority, I'm telling you what, we get some amazing pictures and videos every single day. Plus our weather team, Utah's Weather Authority, updates all of the forecast information a couple of times a day as well, so you can get all your weather information there also. Today we made it to 49. Tomorrow is going to be even warmer. 60 is a normal high this time of year, so temps getting back to that closer to normal range, and then we're going to be heating up this weekend. Now for Salt Lake, we're going to keep you right around freezing through much of the night. Temperatures here across the state tomorrow a little warmer into the 50s. For your Wasatch Front commute tomorrow morning, clear and cool at 30. Cloudy for the evening drive at 52, but you'll need your sunglasses tomorrow morning. We're under clear sky here tonight across northern Utah and southern Utah. Bigger picture here across the state looking at Futurecast. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, clouds are starting to stream in, increasing clouds throughout the day. And we also will have a few sprinkles, mainly off to our west and north, but I wouldn't be surprised if we maybe don't tap into a little bit of that here across western and northern Utah, but nothing that should be too impactful. Overnight temperatures here across the state looking Friday at 7 a.m. It'll be about 25 to 30 here for the Wasatch Front, so we're going to have a somewhat cool start tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll make it into the 50s. Into the 40s at lunchtime, we're going to have a pretty nice day, but just the increasing clouds, temperatures will be pretty comfortable. St. George close to 40 when you wake up tomorrow morning. Also seeing increasing clouds, but your temperatures make it close to 70 tomorrow. Looking at 4 o'clock on your finally Friday, about 50 to 55 for the Wasatch Front tomorrow. And storms are going to be staying off to our west and north over the next few days for the most part. High pressure builds, and we end up with pretty fantastic weather heading into Easter weekend. Now looking at our temperature outlook, above average temperatures for much of the country, especially off to our east. Utah is where we're going to split that. So into southeastern Utah, this is for days 6 to 10, the 12th of April. What today is the 6th of April. So the 12th through the 16th, eastern Utah and further east, above average temperatures. The slice of gray that you're seeing, normal temperatures, which is really good news for our snow melt. We want to get that low elevation going and then eventually get mid to high. We don't want all of those at once. Off to the west, below average temperatures continue. But here in Utah, this is pretty good news for our snow melt. 72 tomorrow in St. George, 74 on Saturday. You're going to be about 90 though by Monday and Tuesday next week. Concern there will be streams and creeks running really fast, cold and high. So be careful in slot canyons across southern Utah. For Salt Lake, we're going to be about 70 early next week, 63 for Easter Sunday. So pretty great weather here across northern Utah. We'll talk more about the next 2 weeks coming up.
The Republican-led Tennessee House voted to expel 2 Democratic members for participating in a gun control protest. I'm Jonathan Hunt in Los Angeles with the latest coming up.
In national news, it was a historic day in Tennessee politics. Republicans expelled 2 Democratic lawmakers, but not all of their efforts were successful. Fox's Jonathan Hunt has the latest.
We need action! What began as a rally for gun control has now cut short the careers of 2 state lawmakers in Tennessee. The drama unfolded a week ago when a trio of Democrats joined a gun control protest on the floor of the state house. They used a bullhorn to join with protesters following the Nashville school shooting in which 6 people, including 3 9-year-old children, were killed. The lawmakers' actions broke House rules of decorum, and Republicans used their supermajority to try to oust all of them.
He and 2 other representatives effectively conducted a mutiny on March the 30th of 2023 in this very chamber.
Justin Jones is one of the so-called Tennessee 3. He was the first to be expelled.
I will stand with the people out in this rotunda every week if I have to. They can't expel our movement.
Representative Justin Pearson was also expelled.
A lot of them I know are upset about the anti-democratic behavior of this white supremacist-led state legislature.
But Gloria Johnson survived by just one vote. Protesters swarmed the Capitol when the votes took place. Expulsion is incredibly rare. It's only happened twice since the 1800s.
The fact that this vote is happening is shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent.
The expelled lawmakers are eligible to run again in a special election, which has to be held to fill the now open seats. In Los Angeles, Jonathan Hunt, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A man is finally charged in connection to the disappearance of a woman missing from the Navajo Nation. I spoke to her loved ones currently on the way from Utah to Arizona to be there for his court appearance.
The murder trial of Lori Vallow Daybell is just a few days away. What a judge decided about which family members can and cannot be in the courtroom.
In Ogden, favorite closing at stores, why customers lined up for hours to get one last bite.
And can the Jazz keep their playoff hopes alive? Why tonight's game means everything for their postseason later in sports. There's a huge break in the case of a woman missing from the Navajo Nation. A federal grand jury has indicted a New Mexico man in connection with 62-year-old Ella Mae Begay's disappearance. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser spoke to her loved ones living here in Utah and Colorado. They're on the road to Arizona right now in hopes of seeing some justice.
It's been 1 year and 10 months and no answers.
It's just a repeat of pain over and over every day. When somebody's missing it, it hurts. It hurts.
Now the family of the Navajo Nation's Ella Mae Begay is seeing progress in her case. An indictment alleges that 23-year-old Preston Tolth assaulted Begay on June 15th, 2021. The feds believe he took her truck across state lines with the intent to cause death or serious bodily injury.
To lose someone to this act of violence is just, it's worse. It's the worst thing you could ever imagine.
The 23-year-old faces assault and carjacking charges. Still no word yet on where Begay could be.
She said that word. She says, my condolences. It hit me really hard because now I know that we won't get to see her.
Begay's niece, Seraphine Warren, who lives here in Utah, helped Begay's story make national news when she walked from the Navajo Nation to D.C. to spark awareness.
I think that the only reason why we're seeing a development in this case is because of their undying efforts to keep the case fresh and top of mind for people in the public.
Both Warren and Begay's son, Gerald, will be in Arizona on Friday for the detention hearing.
I want closure. That's the bottom line. I want I want to bring my mother home, so we know that she's home. I don't want to just leave her out there.
Gerald Begay tells me that he refuses to believe his mother is gone until he sees evidence or a homicide charge. Tolth faces up to 35 years in jail. According to Murdered and Missing Indigenous Relatives Utah, Indigenous women are 10 times more likely to be victims of violence. Reporting in the studio, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A judge sentenced a mother and her son to prison for their roles in stealing $500 million in biofuel tax credits. Isaiah Kingston received 12 years in prison. His 67-year-old mother, Rachel Kingston, was sentenced to 7 years. They were among 4 members of the polygamous Kingston family who in 2019 pleaded guilty to crimes related to Washakie Renewable Energy. The company defrauded a federal program to produce more environmentally friendly fuels. 2 more sentencing hearings are scheduled for Friday. A man will spend life in prison without the possibility of parole for a murder that happened in 2020 in South Salt Lake. A judge sentenced Giovanni Silva yesterday for murdering 23-year-old Caitlin Barron. Prosecutors say the two knew each other. Security camera videos showed them together in the area where Barron's body was found, and a woman's screams could be heard. Officials in Idaho are one step closer to finalizing the jury for the high-profile trial of Lori Vallow Daybell. The mother is charged with multiple counts of conspiracy and murder in the deaths of her 2 children and her husband's previous wife in 2019. Officials finished the first phase of jury selection, confirming a pool of more than 42 potential jurors. Tomorrow morning, they will narrow things down to the final 18. Karen Lair from our sister station KIVI has been following developments at the courthouse all week. She has new details on which family members will be allowed in the courtroom.
Opening arguments in the trial for Lori Vallow Daybell will begin Monday morning in the Ada County Courthouse. And we now know among those seated in the courtroom will be the biological grandmother of victim J.J. Vallow in this case. And this comes after the judge makes a formal ruling on who is considered a witness and who is a victim. Judge Stephen Boyce formally deciding which family members of the victims and defendant in the high-profile case of Lori Vallow Daybell will be allowed in the courtroom for the duration of the 8-week trial. The issue argued in Ada County Court last week. The defense and prosecution agreeing Lori's son and half-brother to victims JJ and Tylee fits the legal definition. The judge agrees, so Colby Ryan will be permitted to watch any portion of the trial. On the other hand, the defense requested to exclude Lori's sister, Summer Shiflett, and the grandparents of victim JJ Vallow, Kay and Larry Woodcock. The state arguing to allow them in as victims and immediate family members.
The argument yesterday relating to victimhood was perfectly legitimate and important because it was the grandparents who have propelled this case forward from the initial points.
In Idaho, witnesses who will testify in a trial are often excluded from the courtroom while other witnesses take the stand. The concern is they may change their testimony based on what they hear others say.
And we also do not allow witnesses to be in cases informed about what other witnesses have testified to before they themselves are called.
The exception, victims and immediate family members who are given a seat in the courtroom for the duration of the trial. In unusual circumstances like these, the court can designate relatives to act as representatives for the victims, in this case for JJ and Tylee. In both cases, their fathers are deceased and their mother is the defendant. The judge designating Summer Shiflett as Tylee's representative in court and grandmother Kay Woodcock for victim JJ Vallow. Grandfather Larry Woodcock did not meet the legal definition, the order outlining he'll be permitted to observe the trial after he takes the stand. Now, before we get to opening arguments, the jury will need to be finalized. The peremptory strike phase should go rather quickly as both sides likely already have a good idea of who they want to see on the jury and who they would like to see go home. Each side will have 12 strikes to dismiss jurors at their discretion with no need for explanation. Reporting at the Ada County Courthouse, I'm Karen Lair.
Still ahead, people in Ogden are going to a favorite restaurant for the last time. Find out why it's closing.
And high pressure is building here across the region as we head into Easter weekend. More on what to expect for our high temperatures and also our next chance for rain coming up.
A lot of people in Ogden have been rushing to get their last meal from Jake's Over the Top, or at least earlier today they were. A local burger, fry, and shake restaurant that has been an Ogden staple for around 30 years. The owners, Ned and Lisa King, recently announced they are closing their doors Saturday and retiring. Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule spoke with customers who waited in line for hours to get their last bite from a local favorite.
Cars lined down and down and down 42nd Street and Harrison Boulevard.
I was waiting for an hour and a half.
As customers like Reggie Smith and Carly Gomez.
We just could not let Jake's go without us having it one more time.
We want to come get our last shake and fries before it closes.
And former employees like Nathan Beach.
I really like getting the burger there. I like to make it kind of a bit special.
Line up to get their last taste of Jake's Over the Top.
I love their onion rings.
And recall fond memories as Jake's heads into their final days of business.
In high school, just coming with friends and family, like after basketball games, coming and hanging out with everyone. sitting outside at the tables.
Like every time I leave the dentist and my kids have no cavities and stuff, that's where we go. And so I'm kind of sad that I'm gonna have to find somewhere else to go now after dental trips.
The owners are set to retire and the land will become a car wash, but some residents aren't too happy about the idea of another car wash.
There's one just right here across the street. So that kind of is lame. Sad to see like a legacy go for just another car wash.
And last year we were in a drought and they're just coming up with new car washes everywhere.
Despite what's next, Beach, Gomez, and Smith give their thanks to the owners for creating a local gem.
I am very thankful Lisa gave me the chance to work there. She just hired a lot of high school and college kids, like straight over here kind of thing from Weber State. So just helping out younger people.
Thank you for all the memories and the yummy food.
All of the workers that have been there every time that we've ever been just showed the best customer service, and we're really grateful for that because that's hard to find.
In Ogden, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to the heroic police officer who saved a man from a burning home last weekend. And we'll explain an easy way to help out those experiencing homelessness here in Utah.
And later in sports, how did Tony and Mike Weir fare on day one of the Masters? Plus, Utah Valley has a new head coach, and the Jazz scrapping for their playoff lives tonight. Back in a bit.
We have breaking news just into the Fox 13 newsroom from southern Utah. Police in Hurricane say a 4-year-old boy is in the hospital in critical condition after being hit by a car while riding his bike. It happened on 180 North between 3700 West and 3900 West at around 7:20 this evening. Police say a 59-year-old man driving a 2018 silver Kia Soul headed westbound was blinded by the sunset and hit the child. The driver then called 911 right away. He is fully cooperating with police. The child's parents were notified on site. The little boy was taken to St. George Regional Hospital. Again, a 4-year-old boy in Hurricane was hit by a car while riding his bike and is in critical condition in the hospital. We'll pass along any information as soon as we learn more. An off-duty Granite School District police officer is being called a hero tonight after he jumped into action to save someone inside a burning home in his neighborhood. Philip Afonso says he was taking advantage of his day off to run errands last Saturday. As he was headed home, he says he saw heavy black smoke coming from the street over in his Harriman neighborhood. When he got to the home, he says the attached garage was engulfed in flames and beginning to melt down. He rushed into the connected townhome and was able to find the one person inside and get them out.
As I looked into the garage, I realized the second floor has started to collapse already. And so I got out of there, I think, at the right amount of time, just barely lucky, and so did the resident, thank goodness. The second half of that question.
Goodness indeed. Afonso says he thought of his kids and wife while he was in danger, but he's grateful for his training that helped him stay calm and focused. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, the deadline is less than 2 weeks away. And when you file your state taxes, you may want to consider donating to help those Utahns who are experiencing homelessness. Today, Governor Spencer Cox and Pamela Atkinson, a longtime community advocate for those living on the street, made an appeal to people to donate to the Pamela Atkinson Homeless Trust Fund. They made this announcement at the Geraldine E. King Women's Resource Center in downtown Salt Lake City. That center is one of 20 organizations statewide that received funding last year from this fund to help Utahns in need.
If they think of $3, they need to know that that $3 alongside with other $3, we get hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's what makes the difference.
If you already filed your taxes, you can donate to the fund online at jobs.utah.gov/HTF. A heartwarming meetup today as a bone marrow donor and the woman whose life was saved by that donation met face to face. 2 years ago, BYU senior Carson Sork joined the Be the Match registry. He matched with 67-year-old Vicky Tafoya, who was dealing with a rare blood cancer since 2008. Her condition took a turn for the worse in 2020, and she needed a bone marrow transplant to survive. That happened in October 2021. Tonight, Vicky and Carson finally met each other at the BYU campus.
This is amazing. It doesn't feel real. I still can't believe I'm here. I can't believe that she's here, that I had this opportunity to meet her. It's been an honor.
He is an incredible young man. He's unbelievable. Again, no words for the person he is, and I know his mom and dad and family got to be proud of him.
Donation truly saves lives. Learn more about bone marrow donation on BeTheMatch.org. We're checking in with Utah's weather authority, Allison Krogan. Allison, what's the weather looking like tonight?
Tonight, cold here across the state. However, come tomorrow with increasing clouds, temperatures are going to be on the rise. We're going to have a chilly start, but it's going to be a pretty decent day tomorrow, even though we're going to have the increasing clouds. And then temperatures are on the rise as we head into Easter weekend. So let's chat about what's going on right now here across the state. It's a whole lot of nothing. So we're going to continue with mostly clear sky here across northern and southern Utah into tomorrow morning. You wake up, it'll still be mostly clear, but the clouds are going to start moving in throughout the evening from the west, and by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, they're starting to arrive along our I-15 corridor. About 20 to 30 for Provo, Salt Lake, and Ogden tomorrow morning. Temperatures will drop into the teens for the Cache Valley early tomorrow. Potentially single digits for Evanston, teens for Bryce Canyon, St. George about 40 degrees. And then throughout the day tomorrow, we're going to have temperatures into the 50s. It'll be a really pleasant Friday. I hope you can find some time to get outside this weekend because it's going to be some of the best weather that we've had for outdoor activities as far as maybe walking around the neighborhood. We're certainly still seeing a lot of snow out there around the neighborhoods and trails. We're getting into mud season as our temperatures are going to be on the rise. But overall, we've got a pretty dry 7-day forecast. Come Saturday, potentially a few isolated areas of showers, but nothing that should be ruining your weekend plans. End of the 7-day forecast by next Thursday night. Some more scattered chances returning to Ogden. For Provo, your chance of precipitation is also pretty dry for the next week, and then we'll get towards the end of our next work week, and we're going to have that potential again next Thursday night for some scattered showers to return. And for St. George, your chance of precipitation is pretty low as we head into the Easter weekend. Very hot temperatures early next week, and then our 7-day precipitation outlook into the southeast, a ton of rain over the next week. Same thing from the Pacific Northwest. But for us here across Utah, mainly going to be in a bit of a drying holding pattern here across Utah. St. George, 72 tomorrow, mostly cloudy, 74 on Saturday, but then temperatures are going to be on the rise. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, we're close to 85 to 90 degrees for southern Utah. The concern there will be snowmelt for our slot canyons and also streams and creeks running really fast, cold and high. So be really careful, especially with pets and kids. For Salt Lake, we're also going to see a little bit of a warm up, but we're going to be cooling down second half of next week. So we'll get the low elevation snowmelt going, which is good. Things could be running fast, cold, and high, though, so we also need to be careful. But 70s, just about 10 degrees above average for this time of year, so that's not that much of a concern. After our 7-day forecast for our 2-week temperature outlook, normal to below average temperatures for us here in Utah. So we'll likely be back into the 50s during the extended forecast. But for tomorrow, 52 and mostly cloudy.
UVU has got their Mark Madsen replacement. Todd Phillips was an assistant and associate head coach for 4 seasons under Madsen, who bolted for Cal last week. He was head coach at Slick for 8 seasons before that. The Wolverines won 2 regular season WAC titles under Phillips' watch. He's the program's 4th head coach now at the D1 level. After a sour stretch of 7 of 8 in the loss column, not to mention 4 straight setbacks at home, despite the great start, 1 more loss, and the Jazz were officially retired from the playoffs. Oklahoma City in town, a club fighting for their own postseason bid with 3 games. Then again, the draft lottery looked very likely with 4 or 5 starters sitting tonight, something they've dealt with essentially all season. Maybe at least it's the All-Star break. The Thunder strike up 13. Isaiah Joe. Utah on a 10-0 run before the break here. Kelly Olynyk tips in his own miss. The Jazz note within a point in the third. Luka Samanik with the pass after the lob and catch for Udoka Azubuike, only to watch OKC end the third and then begin the fourth on a spurt. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shakes off Ochai Agbaji there. Then a 10-0 run To begin the final quarter, the big fella Steven Adams dials up a three. 114-98, Utah missing the playoffs for the first time since 2016. But on the bright side, they'll play the numbers game now with the lottery later this spring. 2 Utahns in the field at the Masters. Mike Weir's green jacket in 2003 means he's in till he dies, while many think it's time for Tony Finau to make a serious run at a jacket of his own. Finau making his 6th appearance at Augusta National today. He's placed top 10 3 times before and had a great round Thursday. No doubt about it. Watch this bend for eagle at 15. It's a slow roller, but looks on point. Fortunately, stops an inch or so short. Tony with 5 birdies, though, including at number 3 to sit at -3 in a tie for 13th. His playing partner, Jordan Spieth, also at -3. As for Weir, even par on the day, great command with his wedge, settles in great putting shape after that chip right there. The BYU product later finding the cup for a birdie, and he's in decent shape, tied for 37th. Now to the Tiger Woods circus. 1 foot stuck in a trap here. Has a hard time hitting off balance, comes up limping before finding another trap. Woods in 54th at 2 over. The lead after 18 holes belonging to Brooks Koepka, Victor Hovland, and John Rahm at -7. College baseball, including the Utes, beginning a new set at 23rd ranked UCLA. The Bruins up 5-0 to start. Jack Holman with a ribby into left in the first. 3 straight for the Utes, capped by Brewer Webster, bringing in a run here with the sacrifice grounder. Last chance Utes in the 9th. But they fly out to center to end it. Diving catch by the Bruins at the end. 5-3 the final there. While BYU tries to find some traction, just 9 and 18 overall coming into tonight. The Cougars used home runs by seniors Jacob Wilk and this one by Ryan Cepede to take out San Francisco. Final 6-2 in Provo. The Bees also won on the road tonight at Albuquerque.
Well, some sad Jazz fans tonight.
Moving on. We're talking about the future now, Robin.
Okay.
And so let's be positive. I think next year, maybe a high draft pick, and we'll just slowly get better and better because we got a lot of them.
I like that.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9. Stay with us. QuickCast is up next.